And so we'd love to get their perspectives on this. Let me introduce them very quickly. On my immediate right, I'm joined by Robert Makoha, who's a political analyst, as well as Bunge la Mwananchi from Nakuru. Thank you very much, Robert, for your time this morning.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And next to him is David Madenge from the Democracy for Citizens Party, and an aspirant of that particular party as well. Thank you very much, Madenge, for your time.
Thank you, Susan.
All right, perhaps I'll just start with you, Madenge. If you look at Tanzania and the sort of attention and focus that not just Kenya but the world is, looking at it from the point of the cases of intimidation, the cases of arrests of key political figures, of journalists, of activists in Tanzania. And if you look at the headlines this morning, it paints a picture of this is just a one-horse race, and there are other candidates in this particular presidential race just for formalities. What's your view and what's your take on just what's happening in Tanzania, as well as the focus that is on that country?
I think this should be a call to action to Tanzania people and the leaders of Tanzania and the political guys from Tanzania, because this shows it is a threat to the democracy of the people of Tanzania. And being we have only one candidate running for the election, this is something that is so dangerous, because we know by having so many political parties, this is where we get each and every person views being represented by these political parties. But now you can imagine here in Kenya without a Raila as an opposition, and imagine going to an election without an opposition party. This shows that even the government that will be there, it will be a government which will represent its own and self-driven desires, not for the people, because we believe most of the time the opposition normally represent the views of the minority and who are the citizens. So I think that is a threat to the democracy of the people of Tanzania.
Right. Makoha, from your point of view, is there a worrying trend that is popping up within East Africa? Tanzania, if you look at the reports that are coming from there on the sort of stance that Samia Suluhu has taken and the direction that she's going, as well as if you look at Uganda, President Yoweri Museveni has been in office, for more than 20 years. Is this a worrying trend that is slowly creeping up within East Africa?
Thank you so much. My name is Robert Makoha. I'm the president of Bunge la Mwananchi. I'm also NG New Generation Aspirant Rift Valley Coordinator. And finally, I'm the Member of Parliament, hopeful, Nakuru Town West constituency, come the year 2027. Okay. When you look at the newspaper that I'm holding right away, the Daily Nation, you realize that up to that 7 million Kenyans in Tanzania will be turning up, if they are healthy, to actually vote for their preferred presidential candidate. But before we talk about that one, you realize that East Africa, there is a worrying trend, because this has actually not started yesterday. We have had leaders who are afraid of leaving the office. These leaders have served for so long and their citizens are in oppression. We have the calibers of the former president of Zimbabwe is now the deceased. You realize that this is a man who, despite the poor economy of his country, Zimbabwe, he clung to power until the last minute. He almost died in office. That is an indicator of backwardness and the threat to the livelihoods of the people who reside within East African community. Look at Uganda here. President Museveni, since independence, when he acquired that government through a coup, up to today, even the other day, some people were speculating that his health was at risk, he had died and all that. All this cannot just be speculated to a healthy person, a young person like you and me, or a person like Bobby Wine, who is the opposition leader there. So you realize that with the kind of lives Ugandans are also living, that shows how backward we are and how we as East Africa, because anything that happens Uganda in a negative way, or I mean Rwanda or Uganda or Tanzania, it directly affects me, because these are our neighboring countries that we trade with them, and we do much together with them. So we are at risk, and especially when you realize that those sitting presidents also intimidated the opposition leaders, and also have a question, or they have got questionable IEBCs in their own respective countries, and even the integrity of the whole electoral body in their respective countries. All this undermines the ability and also the credibility of such like countries to carry out a smooth and fair election. Therefore, it is an open secret that for the caliber of Tanzania, this election that 7 million people are turning up today to vote is likely to favor the incumbent, and that does not represent the rule of the law, which we believe that majority are against her. Apart from the few musicians from Tanzania, she has actually paid in advance to keep on mentioning her name, that she is the person who has the potential to lead Tanzanians.
Right. You know, Mathenge, if you look at the activism as well, I'll talk about that, because we've seen cases where Kenyan activists go to Tanzania, you know, to join forces with Tanzanian activists, Kenyan activists going to Uganda to join forces with Ugandan activists. And as we speak, we are 29 days into 2 of our Kenyan activists who are actually missing in Uganda. And in Tanzania, there's also sort of like a similar mode of dealing with activists. And we are painting activism in bad images, perhaps people who want to, quote unquote, overturn a government. And that is not it, is it? I mean, these are people who are just third voices in a country's democracy, keeping the government in check, other than opposition parties. And so what is this fear of activism within East Africa?
First of all, let me say activists have the rights to demonstrate or talk about the governments that are ruling. They are responsible of even condemning those governments, and it is their business to do so. I believe, for example, when we saw activists from Kenya in Tanzania, where they were walikamatwa, I believe that should not happen, because we have even Kenyans working in Tanzania. That means by all means we have business with Tanzania, and whatever happens in Tanzania, it is our business. So we should not keep quiet. I heard the other day the president saying that we should not go and talk about Tanzania when Kenya, we have our own problems. And that should not be the case. Whatever is happening there, it is our business, because we have Kenyans working in Tanzania, we have Kenyans doing business in Tanzania, and by all means we have Kenyans in Tanzania who are making the economy to run in Tanzania. So I believe that they should not be shut down, and their voice should be taken seriously, because this is what should be done.
All right. Yeah. All right. As I said earlier, it's a long day exercise that is happening in Tanzania this 29th of October. Samia Suluhu Hassan looking to be elected as the first female president of Tanzania, and also perhaps momentous as well within East Africa, because she got into office through a tragic event, and that was the death of the late John Pombe Magufuli in 2021. So we'll be having more details from that particular East African nation, and we'll be telling you all about it in our subsequent bulletin. Now, I want us to switch this focus not far away from matters democracy, but to the state of political parties in the country. And the reason we are having this conversation is because one of the key advocates of multi-partyism in Kenya, that is Raila Odinga, passed away on the 15th of October 2025, and was one of the people that really fought for this in the early 1990s, before Kenya actually began allowing or accommodating more political parties. That was in 1997. And so 28 years down the line, is there a threat to multi-partyism? If you focus on leaders like James Orengo, who's the Siaya governor, as well as Martha Karua, who's the PLP party leader, these are leaders who have contributed to the struggle, Makoha.
Yes.
And during the burial of Odinga, James Orengo really almost beseeched President William Ruto not to take over, I'd say, for lack of a better word, ODM party or any party for that matter, and just allow it to operate in its own space. And for a leader of that kind, a leader who was part of that particular struggle, speaking it that way, is there a threat to multi-partyism at this moment in Kenya?
Okay, from where I sit, first of all, I should begin by appreciating the remarks by Siaya Governor James Orengo for having such a firm stand, and it should be remembered that Orengo is amongst the oldest and veteran politicians who have, from the first day in their political lives, fought for the betterness of their own nation. They are patriotic citizens of our country, Kenya, and even during the multi-party state time, these are the people who also fought for us to have multiple parties today. They have happened to have been in ODM together with President William Samoei Ruto, and I can say that I don't believe that there shall be a threat or there will be an end to multipartyism should President William Ruto attempt to come to take over the leadership of ODM party, either directly or indirectly, because all along we have had political parties, several of them operating within the environments of our Republic of Kenya, and actually the generation of today, comprising of the young people like myself and you, we can never allow a scenario whereby we bring back the days of Moi, whereby people are compromised and compelled to follow a certain political party, which was not for their choice. Based on the events that have been taking place by the young people right from last year, it is a clear indication that nobody can intimidate this kind of young generation and force something on their necks. And therefore, nobody can try to do away with the mushrooming political parties.
But the young people are running on a partyless mantra.
That is it. But at the end of the day, I know some of them are not well informed how things operate. We know we have a movement and we have a political party. If you are a young person and you want to run, you are not going to run on a movement. There are also criteria that one has to follow if they were to come up with a political formation. Which I may think most of them are confused. And that's why at the end of the day, they will end up joining the already established political parties so that they can vote or be voted for. So I was completing my statement by saying that it is so hard unless the government through President William Ruto comes up with ways in which he can apply to jeopardize the operationalization of those political parties. I don't think he is in a position to actually kill the multi-party state in our country, Kenya, currently.
Right. Madenge, Martha Karua, who's the People's Liberation Party leader, PLP, faulted the president and the organizers of the burial for not allowing persons from the opposition to speak, despite the fact that Odinga actually served most of his political career as the opposition. And she also talked about the multi-partyism threat. From where you sit, when you look at the state of these two leaders talking about this, does it sort of eke your mind about the state of political parties in the country?
Let me support him by saying that it is very hard for us to go backward to a country that is being ruled by only one party. So I believe by the call of the broad-based government, where so many political parties are being swallowed into the current ruling government, that will not be the start, or that will not be the beginning where we shall have only one party. Remember that we have so-called DCP, the one that I'm in. We have Wiper and other parties which are outside the government and acting as opposition or against the current ruling government. So going back to the place whereby we have only one ruling party, that will not be possible. Remember, these political parties started way back, and they started as associations in this nation. They started out of the call from people wanting good leadership, people wanting their rights to be met, the right to own land, the right for education, the right also to be represented in the ruling government. So I believe that going back will be very hard, and I believe this is close to 0% of possibility. Yes.
You know, with the culture of opposition working with government, it is something that Odinga mastered. He did so with, Uhuru Kenyatta, has done so with, William Ruto, the current president. And so for him, not being around at this particular point, is there going to be that sustainability that an opposition party such as ODM, which I don't think is in opposition anymore, working with government, or that opposition figures move away from keeping the government in check and actually working with the government? Will that culture end? Do you see it ending, or is it going to continue?
The culture will end because we are created, or we are made up of different minds in political sphere, and no one can be Raila Amolo Odinga. There can only be one Raila Amolo Odinga at a time. There can only be Robert Makoha here at one time. And whatever the tricks that Raila Amolo Odinga, the inner one that he was applying maybe before he gets a chance to hold a handshake in almost all the governments, beginning with Moise, Kibaki, Uhuru, and now Ruto, it may not be obviously applicable to the rest of us. And therefore, what I would want to say is that it will be hard because the people who are remaining, especially the ones who are in the united opposition, these are the people who are going, that their winning will be determined by the so many young people whom right now we are urging to register in large numbers. And therefore, these people, the young ones, are demanding that any kind of decision that these united opposition leaders that are on board makes, we are also as young people supposed to be on the table. So when you look at some of the handshakes that Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga had with the presidents, most of them they may somehow, but were not fully befitting Kenyans, because at the end of the day, if it is a person of the lowest rank in the community who is suffering, and then you hold hands with your opponent, then you are given a government post. I don't see a scenario whereby when you pick a person from my community, that one is a true representation of the people in the society. And by the way, what about those communities that do not have a representative? Are they not supposed to gain developments in their regions because one of their own was not closer to the president and was, the opposition leader, and was given space by the same leader? So I believe that with the dying of Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, that is a change. It is a change in the political journey of the country, Kenya. And also to add, I want to state that to me, ODM has got three things that it is going to endure. The first one, ODM party is likely to split. Right now, if you see the sentiments by the legislatures like Samuel Atandi, Robert Yalaye here in Kilelesho, Atandi is from Alego Usonga. At the same time, in the same faction, we have people like Edwin Sifuna, Babo Wino. If you went to school, you will know that these are people who are divided already. Don't forget James Orengo and even Anyang' Nyong'o, the political bigwigs in ODM. They are the people opposing William Ruto from taking over the party. Then we have those people who are defending their jobs in broad-based government. So they pose as if they want to overstay. They encourage people to continue supporting the president, but in a real sense, they are saying so that their remarks can please the president, so that they can continue staying away, because their positions are not elective. They were appointed and vetted in the National Assembly. The people like Joho, Junet Mohammed, people like Oparanya, people like Opio and I.
Junet is not part of
No, actually. Yeah, so I mentioned Joho, Badi, and Opio and I, the CS for Energy. These are the people who are coming out to pose as if broad base is good, but in a real sense, these are a political orphans of ODM party, and they want to retain their seats in the government of William Samoei Ruto. And therefore, that one means that ODM is going to split. Alternatively, ODM may die a permanent death, because even when we come out of the reality of history of East African countries, we come back to our culture. We believe that when that father of democracy, Raila Amolo Odinga, died, and he was buried by the flag of ODM party, buried by the signature hat, and at the same time the fly whiskey which he will carry in most of his occasions, especially the burials, was also buried with him. I know that one may impact in a negative way from our side, who are the supporters of ODM party. It may mean that that man died, and he died with his political party. So we are just buying time. With the time, we may have a new political formation fronted by these young thugs from the Nyanza region and even Western Kenya as well, because we have seen brilliant minds like Sifuna, Karibu Amisi, we have seen Babo Wino, we have seen people like Eddie Okech, we have also had people like Ndindi Nyoro and all that. So I can conclude by saying that it is hard to say that William Samoei Ruto, the president, will manage to end multipartyism in our country, Kenya.
All right, Mathenge, is it right to always put sort of like a confusion and crisis in one statement, such that if there's confusion within a party or there's divergent views within a party, then that means there's a crisis in this party? And I'll give an example of DCP. A few, I'd say weeks ago, one of the local dailies had painted an image of the party leader Rigathi Gachagua and the deputy party leader Cleophas Malala not on the same page in terms of whether to field a DCP candidate in Malava constituency or not. And so why do we always put it out there that, you know, when there's divergent views in the party, instead of terming it as confusion or just, you know, this is a political party, there needs to be democracy in terms of ideologies, we paint it as a crisis and a party that, you know, is not going the right direction?
So, first of all, let me put it clear that Cleophas Malala and Rigathi Gachagua, the party leader, they have never had differences at all. So it is very bad when we term difference in opinion as having problem in a party. In fact, when people have different opinion in a party, that shows that the party has the freedom of expression, that you can, if an idea is wrong and you oppose it, that it does not paint you as a bad person. It should bring a positive image, showing that the party has the freedom of expression, that you can bring an idea, that you can express an idea freely without being intimidated. Because I believe if you have the freedom to speak, you might think that you're correct, but not until you listen to me and understand what I'm saying, that is the time that you will understand that I had a particular point. So I believe DCP can never be separated and can never be disunited, because we believe that our unity is what will make the next government, including other parties that we are approaching and we are uniting together to form and to bring Kenyans together towards the general election that is coming 2027.
Right.
So let me say that we are united and nothing can separate us.
Are you? Because we've not seen the united opposition together for quite some time now.
Let me say we have been having this situation of Raila Amolo Odinga and we have been mourning. And it can be so unwise for us to carry out political rallies and start talking about politics when the country is mourning. Remember that Raila Amolo Odinga was not just a leader for the Luos and other tribes in Western. I believe that Raila Amolo Odinga was a national leader. If you come in Central Province, there is other leaders who are, there is other people who has been supporting Raila Amolo Odinga and his party since then, since the beginning. So I believe it would be unwise to carry out activities and rallies when we are mourning as a nation.
All right.
Yes.
ODMSG Edwin Sifuna, always talks about political parties being in the business of capturing power. And not just him, but we've also listened to sentiments of various political leaders talking about the reason political parties are actually in the front ray of politics is to capture power, whether it's the presidency or whichever position that is. But my question would be, at what point are we able to differentiate between interests of a party and the sacrifices a party is willing to make? Because ODM party, yes, it is interested in capturing power in 2027, but at the same time, they're willing to sacrifice that to still be in government, perhaps because of not being assured whether or not they'll get that particular office. And so what's that slim line between an interest of a political party and the sacrifice this political party is willing to make just to retain a particular status?
Okay, and that's why I told you that ODM is likely to split and even die completely, because
I mean, this is a 20-year-old party.
I know it is one of the oldest parties. It is the third oldest party in Kenya after KANU, and for the Kenya is the second oldest party in Kenya. Then ODM is the third. ODM is going to split because we have almost equal support from whatever side, each one advocating for their point. There is the side of Edwin Sifuna, who is the Secretary General, who has a lot of followers, not only here in Nairobi, but all over the country, Kenya. And then there is also the faction of the leadership led by Oburu Odinga. Oburu Odinga wants to establish, one, the family ties that Raila Amolo Odinga had with the President Ruto. At the same time, he wants to ensure that they are not out of the government, so that they continue receiving the goodies for the remaining 2.5 years from their friend William Samoei Ruto.
Is being out of government such a bad thing?
It is not a bad thing, but you should not be in government at the expense of the citizens who are suffering. Because in the recent past, during immediately after Raila Amolo Odinga assumed the office, I'm not trying to fight him, but I can't see any change that he brought to the people just because he's in government. Because people thought that these Gen Zs who are killed, for example, will acquire job opportunities in the government of William Samoei Ruto. We have not seen a number of Gen Zs who fought for that revolution in the year 2024 and were killed. Some were killed early this year, getting jobs in the same government. So you cannot say that he has actually represented the interests of the people. Secondly, we have also had draconian bills being passed in the eyes of Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. To me, I can say that he was actually one interested with also doing away with the Gachagua being in the second in command, because when the time came for his impeachment, Baba also donated members of parliament and senators to gang up with William Samoei Ruto's troops to ensure that Gachagua was home. Otherwise, which other thing has Raila Amolo Odinga fought? If the president himself thought that Adani was a bad partner to do business with, and they announced publicly that they were going to do away with the companies, Ketraco deals were nullified by the same president. And Raila Amolo Odinga recently was telling us that Kenyans miss a better opportunity when Adani was done away with, or the deals with Adani were cancelled.
Yeah.
So for me, ODM party is going to split, and the limelight that you are talking about is that interest of the party may be winning of an election, but we also need to understand that the party, for the party to be firm, it also depends on the activities that are being carried out. We cannot say that we are partnering with the Ruto. Ruto has already jubilated Kenyans, and you want the ODM party to stand strong. I've been a supporter of the same party, but I can't see whether with Edwin Sifuna being the Secretary General and remaining there, or without him continue being the support of ODM party, because they are insisting on being with the Ruto. Ruto is doing the bad things to the people. Housing levy has rendered thousands of civil servants. Their pay slips are very blank, and they already had loans before it started deducting their salaries. Our hospitals are in need of drugs. People are dying. When we complain that SHA is not functional fully, yes, there are people being treated. But when you are promised, for example, to be catered for 100 shillings for your bed for the duration of time you have stayed in hospital, and someone turns out to pay 15,000 instead of 100,000, will you still embrace and say that SHA is working? So those are some of the things that make us understand that ODM indulging in government or being in broad-based government does not represent the will of the people, and it is going to split.
All right. Mathenge, the United Opposition had said that in December they would be able to give a name of who would be flying the United Opposition flag come 2027. And this is a united opposition that has got various parties, including the DAPK, the DCP, Wiper Party, PLP, DP of Justin Muturi. I'm interested to understand from you, how will these parties as well be able to balance interest and sacrifice? Because Martha Karua is interested in the presidency. Kalonzo Musyoka may be interested in the presidency. Talk about Rigathi Gachagua, who may be interested in the presidency, as well as perhaps Eugene Wamalwa. So how are they going to be able to balance their interest as well as any sacrifice possible? Because, we've had some of them say they're willing to make any sacrifice possible to ensure that they send the head of state home come 2027.
So let me start by saying that our unity is what will matter come 2027. And looking to all the leaders and political presidents, those people, all of them are qualified to carry the flag of being the president. One thing we should understand that politics is about numbers. And without the numbers, you cannot make it. So first of all, it will start by looking to the numbers. Tracing back, during the general election ways in 90s, between KANU and Ford, you found that when Ford splitted from and became Ford Kenya and Ford Asiri, that is when KANU won. So we are not giving a chance of splitting of votes amongst these opposition parties. So we are focused, and I believe that come 2027 and come when we shall give the right candidate to bear the flag of presidency in this nation, we shall have the right candidate according to the numbers zenye ataleta to the table. So I believe numbers matters a lot.
Would you authoritatively say that Rigathi Gachagua, the party leader of DCP, would be willing to sacrifice his own ambition for a different candidate to, you know, represent United Opposition's flag?
Yes, I believe Rigathi Gachagua is not a selfish man. He is a person who is after people's interest. And that is why this party, he actually came with the name and we supported the Democracy for the Citizens Party. That means this is a party that listens to the people. And I believe when we shall formulate and decide who shall be the flag bearer, it is not just the principals will decide. Also the people will decide who their flag bearer will be. Because we believe that the voice of the people is what matters most when we go to the election come 2027. And I believe if Rigathi Gachagua will not, if it will not favor him, I believe that he will support other leaders because he is not that selfish.
All right.
Yes.
All right, gentlemen, as we wrap this conversation up, Makoha, you know, with the country gearing up for the 2027 polls, there likely is going to be a lot of alliances and coalitions of parties. And, you know, broad-based government has been, I'd say, an agreement that has been in place since 2024. And so if ODM was to bolt out of this particular agreement, which we're not seeing any case of that matter because they've just recently reiterated that they're in broad-based government to stay. But if they were to bolt out, would you have assessed broad-based government as a working agreement that actually served the purpose that it was meant to serve?
Yeah, to me, it has actually served the purpose. And if you are keen, Raila Amolo Odinga has been making sentiments that they were not in agreement to go beyond 2026 December. The agreement was to end there, and by 2027, they were to come out in large numbers to steer the activities of ODM party, including the intention of fielding a presidential candidate in the year 2027. I don't know. If William Ruto decides to join the party, maybe that is what they meant.
What would you make of the statement that was released by ODM just, was it yesterday or was it Monday, reiterating their commitment to broad-based government? You
know, they are divided. Even if Oburu Odinga made such like, the Secretary General was forced. Sifuna was forced to make such a statement that we are still in ODM because Sifuna is just buying time to come out of ODM. There is no way you can challenge him to sing into their tune because Sifuna is with the people. And therefore, that means William Samoei Ruto is going to be abandoned by the bigwigs in mind. You know, we have leaders of ODM and we have young thugs that have good following. I mentioned them to you. Caleb Amisi, Babu Wino, Sifuna. They have the following of these young people who are registering as we speak. So, should the ODM divide into two? There was this one wanachukiwa. They are being told that your time is up, you need to go home to vacate those positions so that young people can take over. Then these people will come out with a new outfit. And that is actually what is worrying William Samoei Ruto. How is it exactly worrying Ruto? It is worrying him in this way. The recent remarks by Mutahi Kagwe, not Kagwe, Kahiga, because Kagwe is the Minister of Agriculture, were meant because Kahiga is a supporter of William Samoei Ruto and is the deputy chair of the Council of Governors. Those remarks were meant to make Gachagua a bad person in the eyes of the rural community. So when the rural community holds hands with the mountain people, that is a sure bet that William Samoei Ruto will be going home. And we have seen this one happen several times, anytime these communities were holding hands. When you trace back to the history of Kenya, in the year 1963, when you read the history, you realize that people who fought for that independence were the Luos and the majority of the Kikuyu communities. That's why you normally hear names like Ucheng, Onego. We have people like Bildad Kakia. We have the likes of Matiba also. In the year 1992, when we had for the first time what we call multipartyism in Kenya, you realize that Kikuyus again held hands with the Luos. In the year 2010, when we had the promulgation of the new constitution of Kenya, Kikuyus held hands with Luos. Ruto was on the other side, you remember? And finally sending home the former president, who was a Moi. Again, Kikuyus held hands with the Luos, led by Raila Amolo Odinga. So that is the trend that is actually worrying the president of Kenya, William Ruto. And hence the remarks that were made to taint the name of Gachagua, so that they could scaffold the relationship that is likely to rise between the two. And let me tell you one thing, because yesterday I read a newspaper and I saw speculations that Ruto will make a coalition with President Uhuru Kenyatta between the Kalenjins and the Kikuyus. It will not work. In as much as Kenyans loved Uhuru Kenyatta, Kenyans will not want to see Uhuru Kenyatta taking them back to the same man he described to them in the year 2022 as a bad person whom Kenyans should be cautious to elect. So in 2027, I believe that it is easier for Rigathi Gachagua and his people to work with the Luo community than Kikuyus under Uhuru to work with William Ruto. And that means what? Ruto will go home.
That's interesting analysis, Mathenge. What's your response to that?
Let me just support him by saying that William Ruto, by getting in all these parties into the government, will not change him. It will not turn him to a two-term president. Rather, this will be a one-term government. Why am I saying this? When he chose to bring ODM to the government by bringing so-called Akinabadi and replacing someone like Ndongo, that was not the citizens' will or citizens' oriented purpose. This was a selfish purpose, because I don't understand what was the change, what changed when Ndongo was replaced with Badi. We can see from that time, this is even the time when corruption has risen to much level. This is when now we don't have even honesty in the books of accounting in this nation. We don't understand the Taranta Stadium. Where is this money coming from? This money was not even passed by the parliament, because I believe parliament is the one that is supposed to pass bills, any bill that should be implemented in this nation. Yeah. So, and I heard the other day that this money that built Taranta Stadium, this was money taken by taking loans using the housing levy as a guarantee. So, in fact, for the next 10 years. So this is a government that is chaining the common mwananchi to a long-term bond of loan, long-term bond of high taxes. Because I believe even the next government that will be there, it will not evade paying these loans, since these loans are being taken by the government of Kenya, not William Ruto, the government of Kenya under William Ruto. So this is a change being taken to the next regime that we should be sensitive. Now you can imagine when we give the president the second term, this will be an end of this nation. It will be an end of a growing nation like Kenya. And I believe this coming 2027, this will be an end of an era. An era that that takes mwananchi opinion for granted, where we believe that when, let me use Raila Odinga, when Raila Odinga is in is in government, my problem is solved as his follower. When someone is in government, as long as I'm following him, that does not mean that he is offering the solution that I need as a mwananchi. Come 2027, this will be a practical based election that will represent the needs of the people. So people will look, how do you address the rate of unemployment? How do you address the rate of corruption in this nation? Will you end the deaths that are occurring and abduction that are happening each and every time in this nation? Will we be shut by speaking the truth or against the government? Will our views be heard come to your government ruling time? So this is what people are really looking towards. We want a government who is listening to us. We want a government that when we give opinion, it does not show that we are against you. It is our view on huku hivi tunasema huku kwa ground. We say that huku kwa ground mambo ni different. So you might think as a president that things are going right and you have the greatest plan for the people. But this time around, let people give you what you should do for them, because I believe this government will be formed by the people for the people.
All right. Gentlemen, we have to wrap this conversation up, so I'm going to give you just a minute to give your final word as we close it, as we close the show. Robert, in a minute.
Okay, I can say that in a country like Kenya, where we want to change, I will urge the young people to turn out, because I believe the exercise for continuous voter registration is still on. We want a new leadership, transformative kind of leadership. They should register as voters. And you cannot register as a voter if you have not acquired your national ID card. And after acquiring the card, what are you going to do with it? Turn out to vote. And during the voting exercise, are you sure you are making the right choice? Or you are singing one time, Ruto must go, then tomorrow you get the voter's card, then you go, you are given a packet of unga, you change mind overnight. That is not what we need. And lastly also, I want to remind the Ministry of Foreign Affairs under the leadership of Mr. Mudavadi, the Prime Minister, the Cabinet Minister, Prime Cabinet Minister, that Kenyans are not forgetting that they have two brothers held up in Uganda, in Communicado. We have Bob Njagi and also our brother Oyo, whom up to now the government of Uganda is still distancing itself from the same allegations. And we have not seen the efforts employed by the government of Kenya to call upon or to push Ugandan authorities to produce our two sons, whose families are not sleeping as we speak. So such like happenings are one of the reasons that we need to transform our country so that we do away with leaders who are abductors, leaders who don't care about the safety of their citizens.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madenge.
My parting shot will be simple. I would like to thank, first of all, EBN for giving us this opportunity, because this for us to come here and talk about what is happening in this nation, that is a very important opportunity.
You're welcome.
And the next thing, I want to thank the people of Kenya by showing solidarity and peace. This is one time I have found people united, people are coming together and united for a certain purpose. So I would also urge young people, right now this is a time that you can register. Let us not wait until the last minute. We know Kenyans, sisi ni wale watu wa the last minute. That is when we rush. This is a chance for you to visit the IBC, get registered, because I believe that kura yako ni haki yako. And also I would like to thank watu wa Kiambu, where I'm coming from, just reminding them that I'm still vying.
Is it Kiambu Township?
Kiambu Township Ward,
Right.
MCA, come 2027, because we are saying that this is a time for young leadership to get into those positions and represent the matters of the people, the matters of young people, because we are believing that the economy is changing, the world is changing, we need fresh mind, we need minds that are ready and energetic to serve the people that vote for them.
Okay.
So thank you so much.
Thank you, both of you. You're welcome. Robert Makoha, political analyst, as well as the president of Bunge la Wananchi Nakuru, as well as Nakuru Township Member of Parliament aspirant. Asante sana. And David Manthenge, Kiambu Township Ward aspirant for the Democracy for Citizens Party, DCP. All the best, gentlemen, in your endeavors. And I can just see a feedback here from Mika, who says, whatever is happening to Tanzania is our business, for we are not only neighbors but we share economic interests as well. We have Kenyans living and working in the country, and we have trade between our two countries. So thank you. That's an important feedback as well from Mika. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time this morning. Thank you to our audience. We hope that you are duly informed with some of the conversations we've had concerning Tanzania, as well just within locally with the state of political parties. Thank you, and have yourself a wonderful day ahead. My name is Cynthia Nanjala.